The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
You're listening to the Sports Scramble podcast, where four friends serve up a weekly plate of sports with a side of SEC bias. Now, here are your hosts, Chet, Jacob, Wade, and Tyler.
Let's go!
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the Sports Scramble podcast, presented to you by Belly Up Sports. We got the whole crew on, all four of us, ready to recap a sad week of LSU sports. Hopefully an optimistic week of Penn State sports, some NFL stuff, and just everything in between. How y'all doing this weekend?
I've had better sports weekends. I would say that.
Yeah, the Saints saved it for you.
Barely.
The fantasy's not looking great, is it, Tyler?
No, that's what's really getting me down.
Yeah, we're going to preface the fantasy football segment this week with just go with your gut. And then we'll give our tips because it's not looking too hot, but we're getting through. We're getting through.
Yep.
Futch, we're glad you were able to join us again. Ready for Penn State? You weren't here for Penn State, Ohio State, and they got beat, so we're hoping you can turn it around.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is a different week. If we decided to show up for this one, hopefully now is the time, because I feel like with a win, we still have a chance for the college football playoff, considering everything that's happened.
That is true. Is it at Michigan or is it at Penn State?
No, it's at Penn State.
Okay.
11 a.m. kickoff. I hate that. I want it to be a night game.
One last time it goes to Johnson.
Thank God, because I hate.
And then you get Gary Danielson.
Yeah, you get old Danielson. Ooh, what isn't he a trip?
He's better than Johnson. I'll tell you that much.
How do you feel about the whole Connor Stallion situation? You think he got Penn State signals before he was rolled out the door? They officially fired him, by the way. He's gone. Well, he was just on a paid vacation for the last.
Well, what's stopping him from going to some games? You know,
sure. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Who's stopping him from buying a ticket and going? And just because he's not employed and getting money directly from, he
could still.
If somebody wants to go check the Venmo accounts and see if he's getting paid, that's like
go put them suckers on private now, because that was his first mistake. But he's loyal to Michigan. It's been going on for a couple weeks, and he had. I'm sure y'all have seen the Michigan Manifesto, the 600-page playbook as to how he was going to take over the team and lead them to victory. There's no way Jim Harbaugh didn't know about it, right?
He had to have known about it. Like the fact that Purdue's staff knew about it and had evidence of it. You can't tell me Harbaugh doesn't know where every member of his staff is on a given weekend. Like, I get it to a certain extent. Like, oh well, I don't control him and this and that, and he's his own person and everything. And then to top it all off, folks, here comes the school president asking for due process in this situation. I said, well, here we go.
Squeeze in a championship,
right? And it's like, oh, let's wait it out so they don't have to get penalized for the 2023 season, which I think is a bunch of crap. So I just think it's a situation where nobody wins this season. I think the Big Ten is right to have all the coaches come in and talk about it like they did this past week and have a discussion about what should happen in their opinions. And I think unanimously they stated that there should be some sort of punishment for Michigan's program. It's nothing against the players. I totally think that the players have nothing to do with it. A staff's decision.
It's all Stallions, and I'm sure Harbaugh's involved at some level, right?
In some level, yeah, he is.
And there's no way you don't know one of your staffers is missing from practice. Like, he may not know everybody's favorite color, but their names and you see him every day. He's a part of a position group. I'm sure somebody's like, hey, where's Stallions at? Like, one of the players. Oh, he's at Central Michigan. Did you see him wearing the full gear? And because Michigan's a Nike team, he had to tape over his Nike shoes with Adidas stripes to fit in. It was just like it was a whole situation. I was like, how do you not realize this? So it's the NCAA. They're gonna wait 10 years before a ruling comes out. It'll probably void a couple of Michigan's wins. Harbaugh's going to be in the NFL coaching by then. It probably won't even matter. So, I don't know. I just thought it was pretty wild that it's like, you don't think it's Ohio State, Ryan Day's letting them know, like, hey, this is happening because
Maybe that's the only team that he can't seem to beat. So maybe he's kind of saying, hey, you see this? They haven't beat us in 15 years, and then now they beat us 2 years in a row. Something's a little suspicious here, but hey, maybe Penn State can just go ahead and serve some justice this Saturday and knock Michigan down and put Ohio State in the driver's seat for now.
I mean, one can hope.
They are ranked higher. Ohio State is ranked higher.
I mean, you could run into a situation where they all beat up on each other. I know it happened a number of years ago and everything, but like you could run into a situation where, Penn State loses to Ohio State, Penn State beats Michigan, and Michigan turns around and beats Ohio State. So like, there's a bunch of different scenarios that could happen.
Yeah, no, there definitely is, and I think it will be good for the conference next year whenever they just open it up to the top two teams, because really any of those three teams deserves a chance in Indianapolis in the championship game. But unfortunately, you're going to see like Iowa sneak in there and
somehow
just
they got one loss.
Well,
they have one or two.
They have
losses.
two losses.
Two losses.
Yeah,
but whoever on that side has less than two losses.
But
Nobody.
Wisconsin could have locked it up had they won this weekend. I feel like if they win this weekend, they lock it up. But you lose to Indiana, who's one of the worst teams in the conference, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I get you're on the road to Indiana, but it's not a very hard place to play. I mean, you're playing out in the middle of nowhere. But I just think that there are certain teams, when you, like Wade mentioned, when you get to next year and you get to the big grand Big 10 that turns into the Big 20
18.
or 30,
How many teams are going to have? 18, right?
18
Right,
packs,
so.
man.
Yeah, so
Big 18 over on CBS.
I just think it's one of those where you're not going to see anything change. I think your top three teams that you see right now that lead the Big 10, your number 1 team, your number 3 team, and your number 11 team in the country are going to be your top 3 teams in the conference when it's all said and done. I don't think that USC is going to be competitive in that sense. I don't think that Washington's going to be competitive, and I don't think that I definitely don't think UCLA is going to be competitive in the Big 10. It's a totally different brand of football. These teams have no defense. They're coming to a conference with a lot of defense. So
Look
at
Iowa.
It'll be interesting.
They win because of their defense.
I mean, shoot, folks, if you want
Iowa's
going to
boycott the flight to Oregon.
Bet the under every week. It does not matter who they play. Bet the 17 points.
They stuck us with another 29. They said, do it again.
Who did they play this week, Wade? Who was it?
They play against Rutgers, who gave Ohio State a little bit of a run. But
Hit the under, baby. All day, every day.
It was an unprecedented under at 29, which was the lowest ever. And somehow they cut it in half. They only scored 17.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm coming to Baton Rouge this weekend. Wade and I are going to take in the Florida LSU game, watch the backups play. As soon as I touch down, money's going on the under of Iowa. I mean, there's no way they score more than 29.
I'm going to take you straight to LaBerge, so you have to do it in person, and you'll understand that it's not just fun money.
Exactly. It's not just wolf spreads, which
I know you're getting used to throwing, $1,000 on the Arizona game. So.
Yeah, 2,000 actually, because I forgot to bet.
How did let you do that? I tried.
Why don't you throw $1,000 of your own money actually down on Arizona next week?
I wish I would have. It let me do it because I split it into 4 different $500 bets. I just did 500, 500, 500, 500. Arizona to win, Arizona to cover, and it worked out because I forgot about it.
That'd be pretty exhilarating to see something like that hit, but that takes a lot of gut to lay 1,000 on the table.
Hey, we don't got to pay
Arizona's the absolute spoiler of the Pac-12 this year. It seems like Oklahoma State's going to be the spoiler of the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, all these teams lose early and then they win late.
Yeah, Northwestern seems to be coming around and hanging around with teams and being the spoiler for the Big 10 West at least. But
so in the Pac-12, it's probably just going to be Washington versus Oregon,
Yeah.
which I think is what we're all expecting. Big Ten is still undecided on the West side. The SEC, I think, is pretty much locked up Alabama versus Georgia, but I really, really wish we were at our no conference this year, right? Or no divisions this year, because it would be if it would give the Georgia Ole Miss game some meaning, because at this point it really doesn't mean anything. Ole Miss wins, great, but they can't go to the SEC championship unless Alabama loses twice to the likes of Auburn and Kentucky.
Nope.
I mean, Auburn can't even cross the 50-yard line half the time. So,
but never a bad thing to be the team sitting at home on conference championship weekend, because we do see crazy things happen. If Alabama were to get stomped on by Georgia or something, and Ole Miss beat Georgia, I think that at that point the Rebels would be in.
I don't think so.
That's interesting.
I don't think.
I think it's more likely that you get 2 Big Ten teams. So say that even if Penn State loses, I don't think that they could really boot out the loser of it, especially the way that Ohio State shifted at number 1.
What about
There's no way, even if they lose to Michigan. Now they look at last year's game; it wasn't even close, and Ohio State still got in. So I think it would be pretty much the same. I think that it's more likely you get 2 Big Ten teams in, especially if the Big 12 plays itself out, because it's pretty much Texas. I mean, Texas was so lucky to get out of that win against Kansas State, but they did. But with Oklahoma losing back-to-back, now it's really up in the air between Oklahoma State and Kansas. Those are the 2 teams that are really in it. So the Big 12 is really rooting for Texas for the conference, and if Texas loses in these couple of weeks or in the Big 12 championship, that conference is out.
Well, so riddle me this. Let's throw this scenario out here in our college football playoff talk that starts now. What Wade just said, Georgia or Ole Miss beats Georgia next weekend, right? And it's like a good win, not like something close, like a maybe by a touchdown or something. Georgia then goes on to beat Alabama in the SEC championship, hypothetically. Would you not take Georgia I forgot the second part of the scenario. Washington, Oregon beats Washington in the Pac-12 championship, but Washington beat Oregon in the regular season. They both have 1 loss. Who are you taking? Are you taking the 1-loss SEC champion, or are you taking 2 Pac-12 teams in that situation? I don't know if that made any sense. That was a lot of scenarios.
A lot of teams.
I don't think you take either. I just don't think you take either. I agree with Tyler in the sense that the Big Ten, I think the resume for those top 3 teams, with an undefeated team in the Big Ten and a 1-loss team in the Big Ten, their resume is bigger, strength of schedule is stronger. Your only loss to be against the number 1 team in the country, if Ohio State wins out, then really.
Penn State would have 2 losses. I think if Ohio State wins out, Penn State would have 2 losses, and I mean that kind of negates them from the college football playoff at that point.
Well, I don't think that but if that means they'd have to lose to Michigan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I think
if they lost to Michigan,
scenario though, Chet, you're pretty much saying if Georgia loses, in the SEC championship to Bama, that's what you're saying, and if Washington,
if Ole Miss beats Georgia in the regular season,
right, and then
if they beat Bama,
and if they get redemption and beat Alabama,
then
you got a 1-loss
SEC
1-loss Georgia team.
I guess you look at your. Let me back all this up. I realized what I was saying.
If Washington loses, they're out, and then Georgia wins. There's no way that the SEC champion. Every single year the college football playoff, I guess outside of 2014, was the first year. The SEC has really been an automatic lock.
It's more of you got an SEC champion, and you got a Big Ten champion. Say Ohio State wins Big Ten, they go undefeated, wins the Big Ten. Okay, Georgia either goes undefeated or they drop the loss to Ole Miss. I don't think it really matters. If they even Alabama's got 1 loss. If they win an SEC championship over Georgia, you have a situation where it's like, well, Georgia's undefeated and they lose to Alabama. That's assuming they beat Ole Miss. You have Georgia's undefeated, they lose to Alabama, right? So then you're looking at what if Oregon beats Washington? That's a 1.
Yeah, you got a bunch of 1-loss teams.
That's a 1-loss conference.
It all comes down to who you play and who you beat.
And I think I would think Oregon's strength of schedule has to be better.
I don't
than
think
Georgia's.
I think Washington would be left out because
Washington needs to
their
go
best
undefeated.
win would get canceled out because they would lose to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, and that Georgia would have they played Alabama.
But what if Michigan beats Penn State but then loses to Ohio State? They got a one-loss team. I mean,
Okay.
strength of schedule. All right, strength of schedule. Who would you pick between Washington, Oregon, Georgia, or Michigan? If hypothetically they all are sitting with a loss at the end of the year.
I think
I would say
Georgia,
Oregon and Georgia.
yeah, Georgia right now. I think that the strength of schedule is getting better. I mean, at the start of this season, we were like, okay, this is the easiest schedule. But yeah, Oregon has played tough. But I mean, Georgia, they've played a top 15 Missouri. They played it then when they were ranked at top 25 Kentucky, and then depending on if Tennessee beats Missouri, that's another top. So I think that Georgia's schedule as a whole, and like I said, they're not gonna. I think Georgia's a lock as long as they don't lose these next two, like either to Ole Miss or to Tennessee. Georgia will be in the playoff once again.
Well, what if Alabama beats them in the SEC championship?
They're still going to be in. Their schedule is going to be way better.
Because
What you
if
think
Alabama beats them, you got two SEC teams in, and you're going to boot out a Big Ten team. Whoever doesn't make the conference championship in the Big Ten from the East would be booted out.
I mean, if Michigan loses once, I think they're out because their schedule is one of the worst in the country.
Because think about it, you're going to have to save a slot more than likely for Florida State.
Yeah,
you're going to have to.
I forgot about
Florida
that.
State's got to go undefeated.
Yeah.
So
Unless Miami ruins it all.
Oh well, yeah. If Florida State loses, I think they're out. I think Texas right now is out, and I think Texas would fall even as a one-loss conference champion. I think there's an argument they would fall short of one of these one-loss teams that we're talking about not making their conference.
Texas does have one of the best wins in college football right now, though.
Only
They have
problem
that win against Alabama, which is looking better and better by the week.
Yes.
Only problem for me though is even if Texas does win out and they do win the Big 12, I still think that they fall short. Like I still think that they sit at 5 or 6.
There's no way.
I think so.
The Big 12 is one of the better conferences. There's no way that they leave them out.
If everything goes to chalk in the championship games, I think that Texas would get in. But if a team like Ohio State or Georgia gets beat in their conference championship, I would think it would be hard to leave them out and throw Texas in.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
Hypothetical. Here's your conference champions. Here's your conference champions. Hold on.
Hypotheticals. Let's do it.
Hypotheticals. That's what we're here for. Here's your conference champions. At the end of the year, this is Chet's made-up world. You have, for fudge, you have a one-loss Penn State. Okay? Which I don't even know. Yeah.
It's possible.
So they would win out and win the Big Ten is what you're saying?
Yes. You have a one-loss Penn State. We'll throw that out there for fudge. One-loss Penn State. You have a one-loss Oregon. You have a one-loss Alabama. You have a one-loss Texas. You have an undefeated Florida State. Am I missing anybody?
Ohio State?
Well, I said a one-loss. I'm saying conference champions. Penn State wins. One loss.
So you need Michigan to beat Ohio State in that situation.
Right. So Michigan's
and lose
one
to somebody else.
They are playing in Ann Arbor.
I'm saying if Penn State beats Michigan this weekend, and then Penn State goes on to run the table, Michigan beats Ohio State. Is that
Penn State really can't
just give our top 4 and screw with all this?
Is Penn State even able to get in?
Penn State's kind of out unless Ohio State or Michigan loses twice.
It would have to be a 3-way tie, and I don't know how that 3-way tie would be decided.
Ohio
it all depends on
Penn State is Ole Miss. They're a good team that has one loss, and unfortunately, that loss was to the team that controls their.
Well, they're the number 1 team in the land, so it's not that bad of a loss.
Yeah, true.
So since this playoff committee, it's like, they put them on a silver platter, like, this is the best team in the country. Yet they struggled against.
They almost lost to Rutgers.
So you're going to probably see Penn State and Ole Miss, or maybe Michigan and Ole Miss, potentially sitting there. They could be sitting there with one loss. So
Penn State, Ole Miss, Sugar Bowl.
Penn State, Ole Miss, and the Sugar Bowl. Honestly, I might go to that.
Wait, isn't the Sugar Bowl a semifinal?
Oh yeah, it is a semifinal game. That's right. Dang it. Oh well.
Send them out west.
Cotton
All
Bowl
right, in the
is.
Rose Bowl.
Well, they can't send them out west either because the Rose Bowl is the semifinal also.
That's true.
so-
So it's either the cotton, the orange,
Send
or
them
the
to the
Fiesta.
desert.
Pick one.
Give them the Cotton Bowl. But this could all be alleviated if Washington wins out. Boom, they're in. I think
If
they go
Washington and
undefeated,
Florida
they're in.
State win out, there's not many extra spots.
Yeah,
If
Florida State
Washington
wins out,
wins out,
they're
they
in.
better be number one.
Here's
Ohio
the problem.
State wins out, they're in. Georgia wins
My-
out, they're in. It's simple math.
The top 4 you see is
Yeah.
My
All right, top
issue
four.
is I can't see the Big 12 in. I can't
I agree.
see
I think
they're
the Pokes
beating
are
up
gonna
on
win.
each other every single week, and I feel like Oklahoma State's the best team in the Big 12 right now. It's
My
just
Gundy and the boys, baby.
Texas and Oklahoma State don't play in the regular season, I don't
If
think.
only they didn't lose to South
No.
Alabama, they would have been.
Hey, what if Iowa wins the Big Ten? What happens then?
Then
Then
the
nobody
world
in that
crumbles.
So
conference.
nobody
and-
from the Big Ten deserves to be in the playoff. Boom.
I
the center
agree.
of the universe is at the field of dreams.
If anyone
that
loses to
happens.
Iowa, that's automatic elimination.
Does Iowa get to the college football playoff? They would have 2 lost champions right there.
But think about it. Next year at the 12
See,
team,
this is why we need a
might
12 team.
honestly be in. Like, think about that.
This is exactly why we need.
Yeah, they might sneak in as the 12.
That would be insane.
We'd have Tulane as the 12 because they would be the best G5.
I mean, Tulane's a 27-point favorite over Tulsa this weekend.
Well,
Is
they
it
only won
interesting to
by
think-
3 against ECU, and they were a 27-point favorite.
But think about this. Like, the Big Ten's so strong in the East now. Think about Rutgers too. I mean, Rutgers is 6-3, and they're going to go to a bowl game for the second year
So
in a
Neil
row.
doesn't have any chaos happening.
No, Neil's got the boring one.
Neil's a
but
straight shooter, you know that.
That's probably what it's going to be. All right, let's go top 4 playoff, which I think we know what it. Okay, let me rephrase this. Playoff top 4 at the end of the year, not Tuesday, not in 2 days because it's Sunday, right? I think we kind of can assume who the top 4 are going to be. Nothing really happened this weekend, right? You got Ohio, maybe Georgia, Ohio State swap. I mean,
Maybe.
So
Eh,
I would.
No.
They probably won't because they don't want to win balls.
Hey, the committee says they start with a clean sheet, but that's a bunch of BS. They're going to put Ohio State number 1.
Who was so it was Ohio State, Michigan, or Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and who was 4? Washington,
Florida State.
Florida State. So I think it stays. I think everything
Yeah.
probably stays the same. All right, so top 4 at the end of the year. Tyler, hit us. with it.
Me? Okay. All right. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun because we still have a lot of football to be played. But you know what? We're going to give our college football playoff. Man, this is a lot of chaos. I guess I'll go. Go conference. Okay. Number 1 will be Florida State. I think that they're going to be one of the lone undefeateds. Because just wait. I know that you had the faces. I think that they're going to climb all the way up to number 1. I still think that they got some big games left on their schedule. Miami this weekend, that's always a tough one in the rivalry game. They didn't look too good against Pitt. Number 2, I'm going to go with, oh boy, I don't know, man. I want to go with Penn State. I think that they find a way. It's going to come down to that
I like
3-way
it.
tiebreaker. I'm just going to hope that it gets there. So give me Penn State there. And then number 3, let's go with Oregon. I think that Oregon is going to get their revenge on them. And then number 4, let's go with Alabama. I think they get it done.
That's not what I was expecting.
No,
I don't know.
Out of
You
you.
put me on the spot. That's not going to be mine, but
Well,
yeah.
what if all of a sudden Clemson is putting it together and they beat Florida State in the ACC?
I still think they're down a couple
Louisville
spots
is
in the
number 2.
rankings.
I think that the
Louisville
best
would be
they
in.
can do. I think
Okay.
the best they can do is like 20th
See,
in
I
the
can't do
country.
this right now because I think that Alabama beats Georgia, and then it's going to be like a 3-way tie between the. It's just stupid.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
saying Clemson gets into the playoffs. I'm thinking Clemson ruins.
No,
Florida
I'm
State's
saying no. I'm
season.
trying to. I'm
Or
trying
Louisville. I
to
get it.
go what's going through my mind. So I'm
I
going to
got you.
go like the conferences. I think Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship. They get in. Georgia will probably get in because they'll still get in, and then the Big Ten will be chaos. I have no idea what's going to happen. The Big 12 will eliminate itself out. I think Oklahoma State ultimately wins that conference. Florida State, they're going to be in. I think that Oregon gets their revenge. So figure it out. That's the teams that I think that's going to be in there at the end.
The committee
that-
should let us pick.
So
They
I
should
can't
let
get a
us
top 4. That's like a top 6.
All right. Wade, what do you got?
All right. I think I'll stick to a little bit more chalk than Tyler. I like the pick of Alabama beating Georgia. I think they could get hot at the right time, but I haven't thought about it enough to pull the trigger on that. So I'm going to go with Georgia at number 1. I think that they'll have enough. I think by the time they beat Alabama, they'll have enough quality wins to upseed Ohio State, who I'll have at number 2. I think Ohio State's sitting nice because they won against Penn State already. This game on Saturday doesn't really matter for Ohio State's purposes. They'll still need to beat Michigan in the finale, but I guess they would be rooting slightly for Penn State to go ahead and give Michigan a loss. But ultimately, the winner of the Michigan and Ohio State game will likely get in to the conference championship. And then number 3, I think Florida State will slot in there. I think they will go undefeated, but if they lose, I think they fall out of the top 6 entirely because of the conference's strength. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and going undefeated and snagging the 3rd spot. And then the 4th spot, I'm going to go with Oregon. I think that the Oregon and Washington game was too close, and I think Oregon's a more complete football team. And I really think the committee will treat that as a winner-takes-all environment. It's later in the season. We'll have a true idea of how these teams are and how they'll be in the playoffs. And especially with the first one being so close and really coming down more to a coaching mistake on Dan Lanning's part, I think that it's really winner takes all. And I think Texas is the team on the outside looking in, because I don't think you can take a 1-loss Texas team over a 1-loss Oregon team, and you certainly can't take them over an undefeated Washington team. So I think that loss to Oklahoma just really is getting worse and worse for them, and really they're kind of lucky to still only have 1 loss. So I feel pretty confident they'll be on the outside looking in,
especially with Oklahoma continuing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, now they got
really
one of the worst
it.
losses out of those teams. So recapping it, Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, number 3 would be Florida State, and then 4, Oregon.
I think that's pretty realistic.
Hey, I was just trying to lay it out.
I like it, Tyler. I like
If Alabama does win, though, it really does.
I think I'm really liking Alabama. They're starting to play good. I think that they have a defense that can really stop Carson Beck in that offense.
Yeah,
But my scenario, there's 3 undefeated teams. So I mean, I think you really got to keep winning.
Chaos.
I don't think we see 2 teams from the same conference this year, but Jacob probably feels differently. Give it to us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Wade a little bit here. I'm gonna go Georgia 1. Honestly, think that Georgia's probably gonna win out. I think they still have Alabama's number, even as well as Alabama's been playing. It'll be the toughest test that they have all year, and I just think Georgia, basically it being a home game for them, that it's going to be tough to beat them. So they're my number 1 team. Number 2, I'll go Florida State number 2, only because of the resume and the probably the most likely to win out outside of Georgia. So them at 1 and 2, those are probably your undefeated teams at the end of the day. At 3, I'll sneak in Washington. I think Washington is probably your 3rd team. They're your best team in the Pac-12 right now. I still think Oregon has some things to think about as far as coaching goes, and they looked good this weekend, but at the end of it all, I don't see them beating Washington. And then at 4, I'll sneak in the Big Ten champion. I think that the Big Ten runner-up. Your Big Ten runner-up, I think, is honestly going to be your 4th team. So I'll sneak Penn State in there for now, only because I think they can beat Michigan. And if your only loss is to a really good football team, I just feel that you have to stick them in there. And if it's not Penn State, your Big Ten champion, I think anybody else, it's probably Ohio State, I think, for me. So that's probably my top 4. I'd go Georgia 1, Florida State 2, Washington 3, and Ohio State at 4. I think that's probably where I put things.
I like it. I'm more with you on the Washington. I think Washington holds on and ends up beating Oregon. Does anybody know where is the Pac-12 championship? Where's that played?
Vegas.
It's in Vegas now.
Okay. Yeah. So my top 4.
If that game happens, that's like the winner, the quarterback is going to win the Heisman.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you tell me JJ McCarthy
yes, he
still has a shot? Like, come on. All All right, so here's my top 4. We're going full chaos. Give me Texas. No, I'm joking. Texas isn't in my top 4. I'm going Washington 1. I think they finished undefeated. At the time, they had big wins against Oregon, USC. They'll have a good win against Utah this weekend. So give me Washington 1. Give me Michigan 2 because I think they got everybody's signs ahead of time and they'll continue to win.
Put it to work, man.
They're ready to go.
Yeah, so give me Michigan 2. They have everybody's signs. 3, Florida State. This is kind of a boring because like it's undefeated. And then 4, I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, but it's going to be Alabama. We all doubted Alabama. We said they were done when they lost to Texas. I said LSU was going to beat the shit out of them. Didn't happen. And here we are. Alabama's going to be in the college football playoff again. And watch them beat Washington, and then Michigan will beat Florida State.
Yeah, somebody mute them. Somebody shut them up.
We're going to have the Gups winning the national championship once again. Nick Saban's going to retire.
Nick Saban is going to retire
at the top of the
Nick Saban time.
I feel like Nick Saban's done after this year. I don't know. Something tells me
no matter what.
No, I kind of feel like he could be as well. I mean, he's been at the top of his game forever, and he has to really change how he approaches the offseason, which is probably the hardest part of college football.
It doesn't
is getting your team assembled, and I don't think he wants to do it anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think he wants to play those stressful games in the playoff when we get the 12-team playoff. And it's your ass is on the line. You either win it or lose it.
In his eye.
Yeah.
From yelling.
Well, I mean, Tyler, you saw him on a sideline. His eyes were like blood red the whole time. I mean, I agree with Wade. I don't think he's up for this new NIL recruiting.
Neither is Dabo.
Season. Yeah, Dabo's done. I mean, I think Clemson.
Dabo's got some years to live, though. He needs to keep cashing those checks if he wants to keep living that expensive lifestyle up on the lake.
Him and Coach O and Nick Saban are all going to be living next to each other.
He basically said on Thursday, "Yeah, I make a lot of money, but it's still stressful. You come do this job."
Yeah, I don't understand Dabo. I don't understand Dabo's attitude when it comes toward just his conversations. I feel like if you sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with him, you need a notepad because he's going to tell you all of his achievements in life before you actually have a reasonable conversation with the guy. And
I'm just like you, Jacob. I just make $11.2 million.
Right. He's just a good old boy. Yeah, like you're right.
All these bandwagon fans, we just need to start losing.
Name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ, baby. Here we go. No, I mean, yeah.
I can't forget the mouse went up the clock. Coach Sweeney's got that drip. That is so cringe. That's the most cringe TikTok I've ever seen.
Psychiatrists should be on suicide watch because we suck.
I just want to count down to when the last time Dabo's gonna slap Howard's rock like he slapped a child across the face.
Well, he passed up Mr. Howard in the all-time coaching wins in Clemson history this week, so maybe they'll have Dabo's rock.
I would say,
yeah, okay. I'll keep my thoughts to myself on that. But
all the players have to touch Dabo's rock before they run it.
They're gonna be rock hard and ready to play.
Oh goodness, Dabo will die.
Dabo's rock will be at the end of the hill though, and you got to sprint full speed past it at the other end zone.
It's gonna be
if you don't run fast enough, Dabo's boulder is gonna run you over as you're going down the hill.
Think about our generation. We've lost the NFL quarterbacks we've grown up with the Tom Brady's and the Drew Brees, the Peyton Manning. They're no longer in the NFL. Think about when we start losing some of these coaches, like the Dabo Sweeneys and the Nick Sabans and who was another one? Jim Harbaugh. Brian Kelly. These guys we've watched coach college football for the past 25 years. When they're no longer in the game, that's going to be kind of sad. You got the goofball Dabo Sweeney running full speed down a hill. You got Jim Harbaugh doing warm-ups with his players, full gloves, khakis, everything. Neil points out a good one. Mac Brown from Texas, North Carolina. Nick Saban, just you don't see the angry elf on the sidelines every weekend. Like that's gonna be who you got? What Fletch? James Franklin?
No, God no. They need to roll that guy out in the garbage.
Get him out.
They need to take him out in the bucket. That's all I know.
Did
But-
Jerry Sandusky touch you in a good way?
We
Touch
should be
your
laughing
feelings
about
of
that.
college football?
Yeah,
I just,
All right,
have,
who's-
like, I just have this strange thought where it's like, I feel like now with players, playing on these teams and everything now, I feel like they retire and it's like, oh, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. I feel like with these coaches, it's like halfway through their career, we already know that, oh, they're going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. Like, I just feel like there's no, it's weird. Like, guys go in the Hall of Fame faster than the sun goes down now than they did 20, 30 years ago. I just don't understand. I get it.
Dabo
Nick
won-
Saban's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I
and
think Nick's an
everything,
automatic.
but
if he
Dabo,
isn't, I will
I don't
burn
know.
down the Hall of Fame.
Dabo's
Dabo
got
won-
multiple championships.
How
I
many?
think
He's
he would
got
be
two,
in.
right?
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Clemson's fallen off the map.
I mean,
since
Kirby
Trevor Lawrence
Smart's
lost.
Kirby Smart's going to
Like
be
you're
in
not going to
there.
put Coach O in there with one
Oh, I-
championship,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
I think if any coach gets two championships, that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
I just think that there's some things that coaches at the college football level are not going to accomplish now that they did years ago. Like most wins with one program. I'm sorry, but nobody's catching Joe Paterno. Like like Saban would have to coach till he's 99 years old, and then again, he probably won't even catch him. Like there's
He passed up
records.
I think he passed up Bear Bryant, didn't he?
Yeah, but
Like
there's
last year or something.
there's records that just will never be broken in that sense. And I feel like it's so much easier, even for players, like at the NFL level. They're like, oh, well, they're going to be a Hall of Famer one day. It's like, how do we know that? Like, who's to say that they're a Hall of Famer like one day? Like, they could be saying friggin' next year that CJ Stroud's going to be a future Hall of Famer. It's like, how do
They're
we know?
saying it now, dude. I
Right.
mean,
It doesn't
we
make
titled
any
the show
sense.
obviously Rookie of the Year. I think is very obtainable for him. But
Sure.
yeah. I agree with you. I think to me, Dabo needs to hang it up before it's too late, because if Clemson keeps going down like this, where they're winning 6-7 games this season when they were at the top of college football, I think his legacy is more in question as a coach. Yeah, he won you 2 championships, but then he lost a ton of games and had 9-7, or not 9-7. We're not in the NFL. Had 9-3 seasons, or 7-4, 7-5. Like, I think that looks worse on an end. It's almost like with a quarterback like I was thinking about this the other day in the NFL. Who's someone he's now a backup. He's kind of hung around like Matt Ryan did at the end of his career. He kind of hung around, and honestly, he could have retired as a pretty good Falcons quarterback. The other guy is not coming to my mind. It's really bad. It was a prime example of retiring or not retiring, and your legacy just goes down big time. I say Ryan Tannehill, but he was never a future Hall of Famer. So
Well, think about people that were starters on teams. Like Andy Dalton was a starter for a long
right,
time.
and that's a perfect example. Andy Dalton, and now he's Bryce Young's backup after Bryce Young threw 4 picks today.
But you used to be able to kind of coast out your career in coaching and as a quarterback, but everybody's kind of looking for that next edge. I mean, like Phillip Rivers, for instance. I mean, he had a tremendous career. He never got the Super Bowl, kind of like Matt Ryan, but he was always above league average at quarterback. But I think a team like the Chargers in present day football would say, you know what, kind of like the Chiefs did with Alex Smith, like, this guy's good, but he's not getting us over the hump. We need to get that next guy in. Whereas in that generation, being above league average was good enough to keep your job. And some teams gamble on it and fail. I mean, honestly, had Matt Ryan stayed in Atlanta, maybe it would have been better than what they've seen out of Ritter the last 2 years. Maybe it was a system thing. But I think that with coaching, it's about what have you done for me now? Same thing at quarterback. I think Dabo has a chance to be kind of like a legacy guy, kind of like a Bill Snyder at Kansas State, or maybe even a Paterno at Penn State, where he's just there his whole career. And, that every now and then they'll get on a hot streak and win a championship. But, I don't know if he can expect to win one every year, kind of like a Saban. I mean, that's rare.
And he's got to adjust to an NIL mindset. Right?
Yeah, to do that, yes, he will have to come around on that a little bit. But I mean,
that's where he missed his mark, really. I mean,
yeah,
he turned away all the NIL stuff and was like, well, that's a bunch of BS. Like, times
could have
have
extended his
changed,
window, definitely.
and that's where he lost his recruiting window. So you lost all your recruiting stuff, and you got a quarterback there that people were like, oh, okay, Klubnik's going to be, the next Deshaun Watson or whatever. But
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's going to be the next Trevor Lawrence, and he's not. It's very apparent that he's not, and unless he, drinks some magic potion in the middle of the night and wakes up on the other side of the bed, then
he's got to grow his hair out.
I just don't think that he's their quarterback. So go and get you a good recruit and basically put him in there. Like, this is obvious for next year, but go get a freshman who's a 4-star freshman and recruit the living garbage out of him until you get him there. And then put him on the field and basically show Klubnik you're going to have to earn your spot, on this team. So I think that's the way to do it. If Dabo does that, I'd be very surprised. But I just think Dabo's he's so one-minded, and he's like, in this box where it's only Dabo's thoughts, and Dabo is
it's Dabo's world, baby. We're just living in it.
I mean, the guy did beat Notre Dame this week, and we're talking
this is true. They came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I feel like
you said,
I've said for the longest time. I said this at the beginning of the year. I said if Notre Dame turns the ball over too much, they ain't gonna win. Sam Hartman turned the ball over, and
he shaved his beard. That's where they haven't played great since he shaved.
And they wore the white pants.
Yeah.
So come on. All right, so let's look at some of our just college football headlines from this last week. Tyler, you mentioned earlier, Texas survived against Kansas State. They went out. It's probably going to be Texas versus Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship, since Oklahoma State took down Oklahoma. The final Bedlam meeting, and what an end. The no call on the pass interference. That was
get out of here.
Yeah, we'll see. USC finally fired Alex Grinch after Caleb Williams was crying in the stands.
He finally realized it.
Yeah,
after Jacob, all these years.
How do you feel about Mr. Caleb Williams? He's down at the bottom of the screen. How do you feel about him crying in the stands with his mama?
Well, okay. First of all, I think they should probably taken this camera off in about 5 seconds
rather
than sitting there for a solid minute. And I'm sitting there going, God, way to humiliate this guy while he's sitting over there crying in his mom's arms or whatever. I don't know. But it was it was one of those where I think this is the situation where we ran into, Caleb Williams at the beginning of the year. Like, this is why talk is cheap. And that's why at the beginning of the year, we sat there and talked about Caleb Williams is the most likely to repeat his Heisman Trophy thing, and USC's a really good shot to make the college football playoff. And they're nowhere near. They're a 3-loss football team, and Caleb Williams is not going to be one of 4 guys sitting there
defense
at the night. It's just not going to do it.
They're
too one-dimensional too. That's their problem. That's their problem. Jordan Addison isn't there anymore to bail you out. I mean, there's situations like that where they missed marks when it came to recruiting, or they over-recruited these guys and basically overvalued some of these guys. And I think honestly, it comes into the hype of, them saying these are the top 100 recruits, and okay, USC has 10 of the top 100 recruits. Well, congratulations. But when you say Hutton, do they actually play? It's one of those things where are they just there for the money? This is where you're going to have the give and take of, are guys going to play football to win a national championship and get to the next level? Or are they going to play for the check that they're going to get every 2 weeks or every month and go and play in the NFL?
That's where the NIL comes. It's going to have to be incentive based, like the NFL with bonuses. Here's the take for you. Let me know what y'all think. LSU and USC, same exact team. 2 Heisman caliber quarterbacks. Playmakers all around. Playmakers all around. No defense. No defensive coordinator. Just you look at teams that both have 3 losses because of their defense. your offense does everything they can do to keep you in a game, minus your quarterback getting his head taken off on a cheap shot from Dallas Turner, which it is what it is. I mean, you're not going to take 14 points away from Alabama from it, right? And you're not going to get another 15 yards. Maybe he's ejected for targeting. Maybe he's not. But still, not great to see for Jane Daniels. But I think that they're the SEC and the Pac-12. The only difference is their conference between LSU and USC. Exact same teams, in my opinion. Now, I think LSU would beat USC because I think our sliver of a defense is better than what USC has at some point. Caleb Williams he's probably thinking sit out the rest of the season. Jane Daniels has to sit out the majority of the season because he doesn't know if he's in the state of Louisiana or if he's on Mars at this point from the concussion he has. But I mean, what do you think? USC, LSU, same team.
Pretty similar. I mean, I think that the coaching at LSU might be a little bit better with Brian Kelly. I do think Lincoln Riley's always been kind of a me guy, and no wonder a me guy wants to go play for him. So right. I think I trust LSU more as a team, but that could be some bias there for sure. We'll see these teams play next year, but those two guys on the screen will not be playing. We'll see the next wave of talent. We won't see Malik Neighbors out there either. Maybe not Brian Thomas. So it'll be a different matchup. I don't think that they would necessarily pin these teams in a bowl game because of the anticipation for the regular season game.
And you won't have the quarterbacks aren't going to play. You're not going to have Jane Daniels versus Caleb Williams.
It would be interesting. Really, the only spot now that they both have 3 losses that they could play is in the Vegas Bowl, but there's no way they're going to do that considering the 2 teams are going to play in Vegas next year.
They're going to face Iowa in the whatever the Outback Bowl is called now.
The ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, that
sucks.
That bowl.
I like the Outback Bowl because you could go get, if the Big Ten won, you got the ahi tuna, which is now like $17 for an appetizer. Or if the SEC won, you got the Bloomin' Onion. I mean, that's a good deal. And now it's the ReliaQuest.
You can get 0.001% off your mortgage if LSU wins.
Yeah, the Duke. Hey, we got to start these talks up with Duke's Mayo again. We got to start hounding them. Be like, hey, well, whoever, if LSU
you're gonna see North Carolina State and like Kentucky.
Oh boy.
What do you think about an NIL deal for whichever bowl game it is to get Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels to play if they were to be matched up? Or is that maybe how you get some of these star players to play in bowl games from these sponsors is to give them NIL deals? I know it's probably not going to be enough for like to match first round money, but if it's a quarterback that's going 3rd, 4th round, or a star player that's not really a first round guarantee, maybe they could throw some money at him to get him to play in the bowl game.
It's a good thought. I still think that the players aren't gonna go for that.
Hi, Fudge. I see you raised your hand. It's like we're in a classroom. What do you have to say, little boy?
I have my hand up. Yeah, I have my hand up because I something clicked in my brain. Light bulb went off when you said that for NIL. I think if you want to have players play an entire season in college football, pay them their minimum on NIL, whatever your minimum is. Okay. When you get to a certain point in this, so get to a certain point in the season, you get through 6 games, give them a stage of their NIL. Get to 9 games or 10 games, give them a stage. But if a guy dresses out and plays for the majority, well, when I say majority, all 12 games, and he didn't opt out. Okay, if he's injured, he didn't opt out.
Right, it's not a legitimate
if they
injury.
opt out. Right, if they opt out at any point throughout the season, even in the bowl game, they're still playing football. Even if you opt out of the bowl, you don't get your NIL bonus, your bonus, whatever, your max that you can get voided at the end of the season. Yeah, I just think that there's ways to restrict money away from guys if they decide to opt out. Because more than likely, if Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels are going to go opt out, they're going to go do a freaking commercial for Powerade like they did this past weekend. So I just feel like there's ways to restrict guys from going in just sitting out games while they're still getting paid. I think that's a good way to do it. Is do it off. You can't do it off of stats based, obviously, like you do in the NFL, where it's like, well, Gronk gets his bonus because he caught his 30th touchdown or
But it
whatever
works.
that was. But I mean, right.
I mean-
but at the same time, it's hard to do that in college football because
It
then
is,
you're
right.
taking away time from other guys who are freshmen and everything. It's hard to do that at that level. At the NFL, sure, you can do it because there's guys that are future Hall of Famers that, sure, it works like that. But in college, it's got to be based off of this many games. If you're going to play this many games throughout the season, then do your NIL contract or whatever in stages like that.
Jacob, we need to get you in front of the Senate. We're gonna get it all figured out. So we're gonna solve NIL. That's what I like that idea. Maybe not game stat incentive, but more games played, time played.
No,
Pretty much like a contract.
Exactly. They gotta
Yeah, like-
gotta get out there, and you gotta play all 12 if you want your full check. That's a good point. Because how else are you gonna prevent players sitting out when they're
Take away their combine invite.
Yeah, think about it.
Right.
I know. I shit on Emmanuel Ocho a couple weeks ago, saying Caleb Williams should sit out. But in all honesty, what does he have to play for? You can't go to the playoffs. You can't go to the Pac-12 championship. I mean, you're not going to play in the bowl game.
But that's what used to be different about college was it wasn't like
you would
championship or bust. And
right, exactly.
right.
I think the 12-team playoff will help with that too. I do.
Agree.
I think three loss teams will make the playoff. So I think you'll see teams, try to really encourage their players to keep their head in it. I know that it's stat incentivized in the NFL, but you'll still see Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams and some of these guys that are on really good teams suit up week 17 in the NFL. And I know that's hard to transfer over to college, but it does kind of give you a level of respect for those guys and for the league. So I don't know how they have to do it, but
game checks, baby. That's all. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So
I think that's.
Go ahead, Jacob. What you got?
I think that's probably the best way to go about it. You get into Caleb Williams and talking about basically him not playing the rest of the season. I agree with Wade's point that he said earlier, where in Caleb Williams' situation, it's like the Lincoln Riley thing, where it's a me thing. And okay, media's made it a me thing, but it's pretty black and white that it is a me thing when it comes to Caleb Williams. I mean, just his demeanor and how he's carrying himself towards the
me and his dogs things. He just wants to go cuddle with his dogs. That's all he cares about. Right.
And I think that's something that turns. I think it turns off NFL scouts, to be honest with you. I think that's what turns it off right there. I mean, if I'm a team that's looking for a quarterback, let's say
Giants.
I don't know. The Giants, yeah. Let's say the Giants. They're looking for a good guy to come in. I'm not going to go and draft Caleb Williams.
You're looking for the face of your franchise.
If you think Bill Belichick is going to go draft, if you think Bill Belichick is going to go draft friggin' Caleb Williams to lead the Patriots, you've lost it. I just don't think that he's a me guy, and that's just not going to work in certain NFL schemes. Most NFLs.
Nope.
It's got a lot of guys scrambling because it was kind of a surefire number one pick thing. And now let's see if he does opt out or something. And I don't know if he will, but if Drake May guts out a 3-loss season with UNC, that might swing the pendulum in his favor. And we've seen guys do this before, like Kyler Murray, and they end up just fine. So I don't know. I just think
fine. I don't know about it.
Yeah, he might be a bust.
He's still a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, if not top 10.
He's sitting at home. Getting ready for
He could have made more
10th
money
for Call of Duty. Let's get real with it.
True.
He is getting ready for Call of Duty. Let's get ready for some upset picks. Here we go. Upset picks. This is what, week 10? Week 11. How did we do last week? Any of our upset picks hit?
Yeah, I only kept track of
I think mine did.
And believe the Pokes. Yeah.
Yes, you did. You had the Pokes. I don't remember who I had.
You had you went with something stupid. Purdue over
I did.
Michigan. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, you're right. Um, Michigan still had their signs. That's why it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think I
All
went
right.
Kansas. I think I went Kansas over Oklahoma.
You weren't on this. What? That was like 2
well,
weeks
that-
ago.
Or no,
was-
no, no.
yeah.
That was the week before.
You weren't on
No,
last
no, that
week's
was the
show.
week before.
But that was a
I
good
was-
pick.
Yeah,
It was a good pick.
yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, then, Fletch, since you're on this week's show, let's start with you. Who's your upset pick for this week?
Great, fantastic. No, I'm gonna take my team. I'm gonna do a homer pick right here. I'm
I
gonna take
love
Penn
it.
State to
I
win
love it.
over Michigan.
Penn State over
Yeah,
Michigan.
so I'm gonna take Penn State to do it. Michigan's
I
the
love it.
5.5 right now. It is 11 o'clock game. Let's hope some bad juju comes down on Michigan. I don't know. I feel like Penn State can win this game only because it's in state college. If it's in Ann Arbor, I think they lose. So,
It's definitely
I'm gonna go
doable.
with them to win and shake up everything in the Big Ten. Let's just
I love
freaking
it.
make it go wild.
I love it. All right. Tyler, who you got?
All right. Well, I was very passionate on my Oklahoma State pick. I'm probably not going to be as passionate on this one because I think both of you probably took one of my picks of the upsets. I know that Chet, he's going to go with his. I like Penn State ones, but sometimes you got to go with a team that you haven't really talked about, but you were on the bandwagon for 2 years. I think that they shake it up. Give me Utah to pull off the upset
like it.
over Washington. Give me the Utes, baby. No Cam Rising, no problem.
Nah.
They got a defense. They go into Seattle and put a whooping on Washington. Give me Utah.
Who's their quarterback? Who's this Bryson
The
Barnes?
chicken guy
Doesn't matter.
Bryson Barnes.
Barnes.
or the pigs. No, he raises the pigs.
That's right. Most pigs raised by a college football player ever. What a stat. Wade,
Impressive.
what you got?
Impressive.
All right. I'm gonna go with a team that was pretty hot earlier in the year. I'm gonna take Duke over UNC. Always a heated rivalry between the two scholarly schools in North Carolina. They're 11-point dogs, so I'll probably need to look into why that is. But
Is Riley Leonard playing?
I don't know. But I think
I
they
think
can at
he's
least
done
cover
for
the
the year.
11. But I think they went out right.
Okay, Duke over North Carolina. And myself and NASCAR Neil are on the same page here. Ole Miss over Georgia. Ole Miss got nothing left to play for at this point because they know they can't get into the SEC championship. But why not? Why not
Hey,
ruin
we waited
somebody
a
else's
path.
season?
It's possible.
If they beat Georgia, they have a lot to play for. I think that they could sneak their way into the playoff.
Without going
I
to
think
the
somebody
SEC
should have
championship?
taken the lovely.
Lovely.
Who?
Lovely.
Who?
Sorry, I cut out. Sorry. I think somebody should have taken the lovely game of Michigan State and Ohio State.
No.
Oh, the
No,
30-point
no,
spread.
come
Yeah.
on, man. No, I like Ole Miss over Georgia. I think they're going to come in and play the spoils here to Georgia's season. So, with that, what you
Another
got?
pick. I think honestly, West Virginia could honestly go on the road to Oklahoma and
Yeah,
I don't
we
think
talked
OU
about
loses
this a
3 in a
little
row.
bit in the pre-show. I can see it.
Oklahoma dropping 3 in a row.
Hey, it's happened
Keep it
before.
going.
South Carolina one year in my childhood started the year 6-6, and this was before there was like 5 million bowl games, and you get one for like having a team.
Yeah.
They lost their final 6 games of the season, and they didn't make a bowl game.
Goodness. Well, that's
So it
rough.
has happened.
That's rough. You know what's rough? Some of our picks and wolf spreads. So building that bankroll. Here we go.
It's time for building that bankroll.
Cha-ching! Building that bankroll. Tyler's cracking up over there. He's still muted. What's he's laughing at
No,
something.
I said more like losing that bankroll.
Yeah. So full transparency, I'm in first place in the college football section for wolf spreads because I forgot to place all my bets and put all 2,000 on Arizona to win. So if it keeps all right. Wolf Spreads is a great app. It's a lot of fun. Download it for free on the App Store, but use it on your phone. I'm using it on my iPad and it's not staying open. That's
In
something.
conclusion,
on
Chad won us. Carry on.
Yeah, so I won in the college football. So Wade, your best bet for this week. What you got?
College or NFL?
College.
All right, college. I'm gonna keep riding with my pack, the wolf pack that is. I'm going to take North Carolina State -2.5 in my Wolf spreads with my Wolf pack.
Yeah.
They covered that 2.5 against Wake Forest on the road. They beat Miami outright, and I told y'all to take that last week as my upset. So I like the Wolfpack. Bonus bet. I like Arizona to cover the 9.5 against Colorado. Arizona's heating up.
Arizona.
Colorado's falling apart. So look at that one too.
Arizona is my favorite team in the Pac-12 right now. Futch, who you got for your best bet?
My best bet, I'm going to go with Texas TCU. I'm going to have TCU cover the 10 on Texas. Texas has not blown anybody out recently, and TCU's playing at home. So honestly, I think a homer game there could honestly be a really close one.
Okay.
Bonus bet wise, I think another good bet here. Tennessee is the favorite on the road by 1 at Missouri. I think Missouri is a totally different animal than what Vegas thinks. So I have Missouri winning it out right there.
I saw that one and I really liked it. Missouri money line right there. Tyler, who do you got in your building that bankroll?
Yeah, I like that Missouri one too. I would definitely put that on if you're trying to build the bankroll. I'm between two here, either an SEC matchup or a Big 12 matchup. I'm gonna ride with the Pokes, baby. They're gonna be my team moving forward. 2.5 versus UCF, more like 12.5. This is gonna be an absolute blowout in Orlando. Give me Oklahoma State to beat the Knights.
I like it. I love it. I love the blowouts. Give me another blowout. Georgia Tech blowing out Clemson. They're 14.5-point dogs. Give me the plus 14.5. And if you're feeling lucky, put the money on them money line.
I think a
What
bonus
if there's like a
one-
reverse line where it's like if you think that the dog is going to win by that much, like the 14.5, like you
Yeah.
could get like
Give me like
5
a plus
times the payout.
10,000.
That's like plus, yeah. That plus odds is through the roof.
Yeah, you could just shift the line to Georgia Tech minus 14.5.
You can, yeah, they do have.
I
shift
feel
lines.
like if you honestly nail the spread number like on the dot, I honestly think it should be like plus 10,000 to hit it on the dot. I really don't care what game it is, but like if it's a 33-30 game and I literally say, look, so and so is going to win by 3 points, I honestly think it should be plus 10,000. Like,
And what about
crazy.
total points? I think that's even crazier.
I think if you nail
Yeah.
the exact score, that's when
Don't
that's
even go there. That's a soft spot.
Yeah, I know. That's why I brought it up.
I would
Wade
have a house
nailed
right
the-
now, Chet.
Wade has nailed the score, I think, like in the last 3 Super
You'll
Bowls.
never
No,
let
just
down
one.
of getting that Super Bowl score that one
Just
year.
one, but I would have won $8,500 according to the Beau Rivage on $20.
You gotta place the bet, Wade. What do
I was
you got to
20.
lose? $20?
Hey, we
find a
don't promote
bookie.
underage gambling, okay?
Find a bookie. There you go. If you're underage, don't do it. So there's our best bets of the week. Wolf spreads. You can join us. We put tweets out about them all the time. We love using their app. It's fun. It's risk free. We've got a little bit of a crew over there on the college football bets. The NFL, I was doing pretty good so far. I think I was like plus 900. So keep it going. NFL side, my best bet for this week. This coming week is Titans plus 1.5 versus the Bucks. I think Will Levis is just getting started, baby. I need another D-Hop 3-touchdown week for my fantasy team, and Will Levis goes off against Tampa Bay in the Bake Show. Tyler, you're snickering over there.
I am.
Well,
He's going to take the opposite.
I'm not. I'm cooking something up. 2 teams coming off of the bye week. This one team has been struggling. Give me Travis Etienne and the boys plus 2.5 Jacksonville Jaguars. Honestly, I'm going to feel confident. Put it on Wolf spreads. Take them outright. The Jags get the win. Support my boy Tim Jones. Give me the Jags.
It is
Who they
in
play?
Jacksonville. So that's a good
The Niners.
ooh. Yeah, the Niners are reeling right now. They're
Yeah.
not healthy. I like Jacksonville. I'm putting money on Jacksonville.
Jacksonville
right
going to be
there.
that number 1 seed, baby.
All right, Wade. What do we got for us?
All right. Y'all are probably not going to like this one because it's going to be a jinx, but I'm going to take the Saints to cover the 2.5. They're 2.5 point favorites, that is, against the Vikings. I think that they can win this game by a field goal. Minnesota is going to be going with Josh Dobbs, most likely. He had to come in as an emergency quarterback today. He's still running the system. They have no running
They
game.
look good. A little bit.
Jefferson's not there.
Mhm.
I mean, defense isn't good. The Falcons' offense put up a lot of points today. So even though they got the win, I think the Saints can take this one by 3.
The Saints are starting to click a little bit. A
They are
little
the
bit.
Saints.
The Saints, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
All right,
the Saint
Jacob, who do you
Stations.
got? The Saints, the Aints. All right, I like the pick. The
Here we go.
Saints.
I've got a really stupid one, but I honestly feel like it's going to be a close game. The Browns and the Ravens. I'm going to take the Browns to cover the 5.5 as the underdog.
Okay.
I think the Browns have turned the corner. Like they have the best. It's clear they have the best defense in the NFL. And honestly, I think they're coming around on offense. I think that they're going to be able to stop Lamar. Lamar doesn't look healthy, by the way. Took a nasty hit today, so I
Tyler
think
Huntley time.
Yikes!
Yeah, he came in for a little while, but I honestly
he threw
think
that
that
touchdown to Odell.
yeah, I honestly think there's a shakeup there with the AFC North, and the Browns have struck gold somehow, some way, and the AFC North looks like the toughest division in football right now.
And they've been doing it without Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, really. So
Right.
kudos.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the AFC North, the Bengals are cooking 20-7.
They're up 21
Touchdown Joe Burrow to the other tight end. He has 2 touchdowns to tight ends.
Throw it to Jamar, man. All right.
give
So
up.
real quick before we get into the NFL talk, and then we have NASCAR Neil come on. We gotta get our dogs of the week. Everybody's favorite segment. Here we go. Who got that dog in them? I need to change the layout here. If you're watching on YouTube, we still have a little Halloween dog. Honestly,
Still spooky season in my heart.
still season. It was super foggy this morning when I woke up, especially daylight savings time. I mean, it got dark at like 5. I'm not a fan. So, dog of the week. I'm going to start us off real quick because CJ Stroud, rookie of the year, dog of the week, 5 touchdowns. I think he had 510 passing yards, something around like that.
470.
Give him a round of applause. No, he had 500.
470.
Hold on, we're checking this out.
Maybe 500 total.
Yeah, maybe 500 total yards.
He had 470 passing yards, which is the highest that a rookie quarterback has ever
Yeah,
had.
he broke Andrew Luck's record.
Well, Andrew Luck wasn't the last person to have the record. Some guy for the Chargers.
Yeah,
He
was
only
the
had
last
10
one.
yards rushing.
Oh, well,
So
I
480
don't know.
total. Very good.
I don't know where I got 510. But CJ Stroud, 5 touchdowns, drives down the field, gets the dub. That's my dog of the week. Pretty self-explanatory story there. Tyler, dog of the week.
I'm going to tie it in. We just had Veterans Day this past weekend, and I'm going to go with an Army cadet. I'm going with the dog and Bryson Daly, quarterback for the Army Black Knights. Army coming off of probably a 4-game losing streak. Air Force, they were flying high. 18th, ranked 18th in the AP poll, ranked 25th in the college football playoff poll. And Mr. Daly comes in and says, "Not so fast, Falcons." 36 carries on 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mr. Daly got the dog in him.
Good thing he didn't play against LSU. That might not have been that big of a blowout. That's for sure. Jacob, dog of the week. Who you got?
Yeah, well, to Tyler's point, I think Air Force messed up by playing in the Bronco Stadium, and they got the bad freaking itch of what's going on with them.
Bad
so
mojo there.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna hop over to the sheet of ice. Penguins and the Sharks the other night. It was a freaking football score on the sheet of ice. The Penguins put up 10 goals.
Damn.
And 10-2 final against the Sharks on the road. Yeah, that's crazy.
I heard the Sharks are off to a very bad start. They put up like 60 goals already.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're 0-10-1. So yeah, they look like the Memphis Grizzlies. So
I look like the Rouge. I mean, not the Rouge, the
Zydeco. Yeah, some growing pains. They'll get there.
They got to get the budget up. All right.
I saw a sign from a little kid said, "This is my first Sharks game," and then the scoreboard was underneath 10-2, and I was like,
"Sorry, kid. Here's a refund."
Yeah,
I saw some picture of the Sharks mascot with this kid's head in its mouth, like of the shark, and that is
my god,
that's everybody in the Sharks franchise.
Yeah, jeez. All right, Wade, dog of the week. What you got? For
All
us?
right. Since we try to not be a biased show, we're going to get some points here in the non-biased category. I'm going to give it to Jalen Milroe. I mean, I haven't seen one player
Fucking
singularly take over a game of that caliber in a long time. I mean, this was a pick 'em pretty much. Alabama was the 3-point favorite, but you usually get 3 points for being at home. So this was a pick 'em pretty much. And I know that Daniel's Day ended in an injury, but I would have to say that Milroe outdueled the Heisman favorite. And yeah, he did it with his legs, but you got to do it with what works. And I mean, he just was so much more physical than anybody on that football field and was just putting LSU defenders in the dirt all day, even shoving them in the dirt after he'd already crossed the goal line. So hats off to Milroe. I think that he did a great job of, in this era of football where we're talking about guys sitting out and stuff. I mean, he could have popped in the portal after he got benched against USF, but here he is now. We got him in the top 10, could eventually make the playoffs. So got to give it to Milroe with his 150 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it looked like Cam Newton out there. Yeah. I mean, LSU had no answer for him. Put a freaking spy on the guy for crying out loud. I've bitten my tongue on the show because I didn't want to bring it down with negativity. Neil's got one. Ryan Blaney, and he's going to get into our championship recap once we have him on the show here in a couple minutes. But first, we got to get to some NFL headlines. Let me find them here. We got starting off in Germany. I mean, the Chiefs were off to a hot start, and Dolphins came back, and then Tua fumbled the game away. I didn't watch it. Anybody else watch it? I wasn't up that early.
Yeah, I saw it a little bit this morning.
Early hour of sleep. I was not awake.
About the only football I watched today, so I can give you a thorough recap.
Quick 20 seconds. What you got?
Okay, well, 20 seconds into the game, Rashee Rice caught a 10-yard pass for a touchdown, and my fantasy day was off to a cooking start with my coffee. But then it went to crap. And then the Chiefs played to the whistle. There was like 3 seconds left in the first half, and Tyreek Hill had the ball on a slant. It was kind of a dead play, but he was still fighting. Probably should have gone down. He fumbled, and the Chiefs did a lateral on the return to go up 14-0. And then they scored one more time for good measure. I can't remember who did it, but pretty much it was a snooze fest. We expected a lot of offense. Only one team cleared 20 points, and there was only 4 touchdowns on offense. One was a defensive touchdown. So pretty quiet. We've seen that be a trend as the teams play overseas. Kansas City didn't get there till Friday, and maybe the Dolphins were having a little too much beer drinking and fun. So hard to say. I think this game would have been more fun if it was in the States, but Chiefs get the win and they go into the bye on top of the league, in my opinion. So
it was kind of a low scoring NFL day until you got to the Eagles and Cowboys. That came to a last second game of inches there. CeeDee Lamb just short didn't score that game winning touchdown. Some shockers. I mean, Las Vegas comes out and just destroys the Giants. Tyler, I want to get to your fantasy football picks for this coming week. But any other NFL headlines? I mean, it was kind of – I didn't watch a ton of NFL. What you got, Jacob? Taysom Hill?
I got one.
Looked awesome.
I got one, and it had nothing to do with the football game for the most part.
Okay.
Philly and Dallas, great football game there. Play goes to the sideline. Guy gets wiped out with the play sheet in his hand that was on the Philly sideline and revealed his undergarment that was very, very interesting and conspicuous.
Wait, what are you talking about? I didn't see this.
Yeah, dude.
We got coaches and thongs, Jacob?
Yeah, you did. You did. Man wiped out. Bright red, dude. I mean, just, no joke.
No way.
Yeah.
His pants fell out?
Yeah.
How did his pants come on?
Well, he had his shirt untucked, and let's just say that it was pulled up above where his pants were. So yeah. What a
got a full
what a sight to see.
Philly.
Yeah, it was lovely.
So he actually had a thong on?
Yeah, red. Real nice.
I mean,
can you imagine back when Joe Burrow got his pants pulled down against Mississippi State? They pulled him down. And
jockstrap Joe, he plays in an old school jockstrap.
I mean, maybe it's the guy's like lucky set, or something like, maybe it's like a lucky pair. Or
Who
something. Like, I
knows?
have no idea.
Maybe
Whatever,
he'll
it worked. I mean,
Gosh.
clearly, but I
Yeah, the
don't know.
Eagles won. Jalen Hurts is a guaranteed lock to score you a rushing touchdown in fantasy every week.
Especially with the tush push.
The dish push, the way it goes. The Ravens lost Lamar, but didn't really need him. They destroyed Seattle. Defense didn't really have an answer. I mean,
How about the Vikings though? Like the
yeah,
Vikings.
Josh Dobbs.
Holy, like
He was
that's
learning the
crazy.
signals and the snap count on the sidelines and won.
And we got to talk about our Saints. Okay, that's the one I watched. I was doing a lot of chores today. I was listening to that one. Slow start. Defense didn't look great, which is a little concerning. They let Baguette or whatever the heck his name is run around like Jalen
Banquet.
Milroe out there.
I mean, it was a heck of a catch by Cole Kmet. I'll say that.
Yeah, not a great day to have
Cole
him on my
Kmet
bench in
legacy
fantasy.
game.
It was like watching Gronk out there, honestly, on that catch.
Who you putting in, Justin Fields or Baguette when Fields is healthy?
I was thinking about that early in the game, but I think the way that game ended, I mean, he was responsible for 2 turnovers, and I think he showed why he, went undrafted. No disrespect to him, but Justin Fields.
I'm calling him Baguette way. There's a little bit of disrespect here.
Yeah,
Tangent, first off. But
get his ass back down and beat D2. Like, Jesus.
But I think that Justin Fields has been a very well-respected quarterback ever since he really started playing high school football. So the odds are is that if either one of them has a chance of being a franchise guy, and I'm not saying that Justin Fields is the guy, if you're looking at those two and who's in your team right now, I think it's Fields. But if they stick with Tyson and they don't go back to Fields when he's hurt, it's because they want to see if they have anything with them. It'll let them avoid getting hit with a tampering clause, and then they can go draft who they want in the draft. But I think that I'd be very cautious if that guy is Caleb Williams, because I don't think he's going to be any more of a guarantee than Fields.
Just draft Marvin Harrison and you're good.
And are you really going to take another UNC quarterback after you whiffed on Trubisky? So, no, I think they're kind of in a holding pattern here. Honestly, I would take the 2 years that you've had developing Fields and give it a shot.
Yeah,
I mean, Fields is the answer for them in the long haul. Like, really,
that's the
that's
problem.
what he's a scheme guy for them, and I think that the Bears have changed their scheme 100% from when Jay Cutler was there. Like, it's completely different. So, no, I think he is. I mean, these last 2 Ohio State quarterbacks with C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields have been the most successful Ohio State quarterbacks that we've seen in the last 15 years. I mean, so I think that they definitely are pieces for those teams. Like, I think the Texans can roll with C.J. Stroud in the future, and I think Fields is a good fit for Chicago. So I see it hard for those 2 teams to get away from them and find anybody else in a draft. I think it just devalues what those guys are doing for you right now if you go out and get another quarterback who's young, because you've got 2 guys who's, second and first year in the league pretty much.
Well, and another thing, Justin Fields played 1 year in college, and then he went to the NFL. So it's gonna take some time to marinate. Yeah. Tyler, you got your fantasy football corner ready to rock and roll?
I sure do.
All right, let's kick off.
I'm
Tyler's.
trying to at least. What the heck? Skip it.
Is it not working? All right. Well,
skip it.
We'll have a Twitter version of it out there.
Yes, there you go. Fantasy football corner advice this week is just go with your gut.
We are doing it a little early here,
My advice is, or just quit from it.
Yeah, or quit. Go with your gut.
If you're entitled.
Hey, actually, I can attest to that, because with all my redraft teams, I sit there and I look at who's hot this year, who's not, and I end up screwing it up every year. With this dynasty team that I joined on a whim, I didn't even think I was going to do it, but literally I had Jamar Chase in the first round, and I was like, oh, it'd be fun as hell to pair him with Joe Burrow and watch their career. And like, I picked with my heart on every pick, and I'm like 22-2 over the last 2 years. So play with your heart, trust your gut. I mean, it's a lot more fun when your guys are winning for you than some random that disappoints you because you listen to, some dude on Twitter. tell you
You
who's
listen
going to
to
be good.
4 dudes on a podcast tell you who to start
Yeah.
fantasy football.
Start 4 dudes, and 2 of them are going to be playing in the toilet bowl for the second consecutive year. The real winners.
Yeah.
Tony
Hey,
Chet
Pollard
and I
is
are
on the
top of the
trade block.
division for both of our divisions, so it's like
Jacob
Well-
wings it. Jacob picks with his heart, and he's winning.
I just like, no joke, when we get on for the draft, like, I don't know how anybody else prepares for a draft. Like, some
Jacob's
people
not even
probably
home.
freaking sit there all day. I'm not
Jacob's
even
driving
home.
a forklift half the time.
I'm whipping a forklift half the time.
Jacob's like, oh, sweet. Miles Sanderson's in NFL now? Sweet, I'll take him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's gonna
Whoever
ride my
played
bench
Penn
for the
State.
rest of the season. Hey, by the way, he's on the trade block if anybody wants the freaking guy whose team can't win more than one game this year. So, I don't know.
I like
It's definitely I just get in the draft like 2 minutes before it starts and just sit down and I just go with my gut.
Here you go. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll put something out about fantasy
Make some gut picks.
if we get it working, or just make some gut picks. So
Hey,
with that, okay, what you got?
if I end the season, Tyler, 12-2, and I somehow end up winning out, I'm taking over Fantasy Corner.
Please do,
next
because
season.
I'm done with this shit.
Tyler's not having the time of his
Tyler
life
has
on
been
fantasy
benched
football.
as the franchise quarterback. We're going with Ben Gitt.
I already said it to y'all.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard's on the trade block. I'm tanking.
Tony Pollard. All right, Tony Pollard's. Well, it's not too hot
Tanking
of a
for
trade right
the
I'm
toilet
tanking
bowl so
for
you can
next
play me.
year.
now. Tanking for next year. All right, so with that, we got to get to our NASCAR Neil update. Here we go.
Start your engine!
Oh, look at that transition. I
You
love
like it? You like it? Start your engines. We got NASCAR Neil. Neil, how you doing tonight? You got
This
to
guy's L
LSU.
Club hat, guys. Look at that.
I appreciate showing the hometown home field advantage, even though they didn't win. But what happened?
Was that
Championship
because we took an
series.
L?
I
Maybe
will
that's why.
start with the 75th season of NASCAR is now in the books. It was actually a pretty cool kind of year. They did some cool stuff from the Wilkesboro race to Le Mans to a historic team finally getting the groove back with Roush. It was a pretty good weekend. Friday started out with, every year I don't cover the lower series much here, but championship weekend I always go into it. Friday night was a late night. It didn't start till like 9:30.
Golly,
and it
NASCAR
did-
after dark.
It's West Coast. They're in Phoenix, but Ben Rhodes won it. I know I sent you and Wade the video of his post-race press conference because it was legendary, like it was 2 years ago, where the man cannot handle his alcohol and he just starts rambling about random stuff. And
Hey, at least he started drinking after the race.
That's a good
I mean, he won it back in 2001, and I remember watching the clips of it on the bus ride going to the Bama game that year. I was like, this is hilarious. I don't know who this dude is, but he's now my dude in this series, and I've been riding on him ever since then. I'm like, I want him to win just for part 2, and it was definitely up to it. That race was a complete shit show. Like all the Final Four guys were wrecking each other. It literally went to close to 20 laps overtime, which means
Damn.
they couldn't get through 2 laps. I don't know that counts. I lost count at one point, but it was nonstop, them wrecking every time. Like I don't even know how
You
many
might as
cars
well just
finished
put
the race.
us out there to race at that point. I mean,
Oh,
I
it was-
feel like I could bob and weave through that thing.
Oh, it was. I mean, it's brutal, and that series always has. That has the bad reputation of guys driving bad, anyways. Then Saturday, which I had it split on with the LSU game on one screen, this race on the other one. Cole Custer gets the win, which was big for him because he was in the Cup car last year, where Stuart Haas then took a step down because he really wasn't performing. He was really good in the Xfinity Series before, got his groove back, and he won the championship. First time for Stuart Haas Racing to win the Xfinity Championship. Cool moment seeing, that team have success. It was actually a clean ending. All 4 drivers started on the first 2 rows in their overtime. They went to one overtime for a late caution. They all 4 started up front and they raced clean, which was nice to see after Friday night. I was like, good, at least they're not an embarrassment like
Something
Friday
a
night
little
was. Oh yeah, it was nice, And then you roll into today. Ross Chastain wins the race, but Ronnie Blaney wins the championship because Blaney finished second, but because Ross Chastain was eliminated and stuff for the playoffs, Ronnie Blaney won it.
Does he still
So
get
expand
money?
on that a little bit. So you can
Yeah.
still race so
Yeah.
that they have the same number of
Yeah.
drivers on the track, but some
Yes.
people are in contention and others aren't.
Yeah. So it's a 10 race playoff. Every 3 races, they eliminate 4 people. Ross Chastain was in the playoffs. I think he got eliminated in the round of 8. I forget exactly when he got eliminated. But the final race, it's the highest finishing driver of those final 4. But everyone else is racing further into the season total points, where he moved up in the standings. I think he was able to move up to like 8th overall for season, which is more money for the team and more money for everybody. It kind of helps with their standings, helps them long term kind of thing.
See that, Caleb Williams? You got to finish it out, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of cool because he did, he did his burnout first in the front stretch, and then Ryan Blaney kind of came and did his and stuff, and you can kind of see the overlap a little bit. Then they took him to the real victory lane while Blaney did his front stretch interview and kind of thing. And at first, I'm like, the guy won the race, and they didn't cut his interview for like 20 minutes. I'm like, it's kind of doing some disservice to him. I know he didn't win the championship, but he still won the race. Like, that's the big deal. It's still second win of the year. He won at Nashville when I was there for and dominated that race. But it was kind of cool for Blaney because he had a summer slump. Like, the dude struggled most summer. He won the Coke 600 on Memorial Day weekend. They kind of fell into, like, I think he had like one top 9 and then 15 races following that. And then he got on a hot streak in the playoffs. But first stage, Byron led for the pole, flag to flag, did really good. Harvick, who I'll talk about a little bit later, started out really good and stuff. It almost beat him to the line there at the end of the stage.
He's got that
stubby, true to
I
his,
love
his
it.
name.
You know me. During stage 2, Bell, who was one of the final 4 drivers, blew a brake rotor and got loose in the wall, which took him out of contention pretty early. I mean, that was on lap 117 of the 317 total laps. So it's kind of sucked for him losing out early. He was running upper 10s, lower teens kind of all day with Blaney because he qualified not the best. Kind of sucked that for that point of the race, it was just the final 3, which they ran pretty much 1, 2, 3, in order kind of there. But there was a lot of non-playoff drivers competing, which with Chastain is the first person in the round in the final 4 era of the playoffs that they've now been doing for 20 years now to actually win the race as a non-playoff driver, which is kind of cool that he in this era, which is kind of cool to see that,
But did Blaney know going in that, hey, if I get second, that's enough points for me to win?
As long as he's the highest finishing of the final 4 drivers.
Okay, so it didn't matter. If he had to overcome the guy who was currently in first, it was just truly order of finish.
Order of finish, and it kind of came down to it. And I was texting Matt, because he's a big NASCAR guy as well, how that caution came out with about 34 to go. Same thing as 2001 or 2021 championship. Kyle Larson won that championship because he had a really fast pit stop. And coming out of that pit cycle, Larson won the race off pit road. It was up front. I'm like, oh, Larson's gonna do it again. It's how he won there that year. Beat my guy Truex that year. So I'm like, please don't have this happen again. That the guy, But then on that 30 lap run, Blaney started behind him and got behind him, was gaining on him, and then with about 15 or 20 to go, going to the dog leg, Larson gets loose, and Blaney capitalizes on that, catches up to his quarter panel, and makes the move past, and then sailed away the last 15 laps, just trying not to make any mistakes where Larson catch him.
And I imagine the teams, are still fighting for their individual guys, right?
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's, and with Hendricks, they had the Larson and Byron are both technically teammates, and they're both going for the championship. So it's like, and they were both racing by each other all day. Their other 2 teammates were kind of back there. And then with Blaney, his teammate last year won this race, and he won it by Blaney riding his bumper and blocking from all day at the end of the race. So it's kind of like cool to see him get his moment in Phoenix after he probably could have won the race last year, but didn't want to help his teammate out, And it was really exciting there. I'm not a big fan of the playoffs ending there because to me the racing is usually not the best.
Neil wants to bring it down to Miami.
I do. I think it's just a better track.
State.
What?
I said in the Sunshine State. Let me ask you this, Neil, regarding the racing. I saw on Twitter or X, some people were calling to, instead of having the full field, to just have the 4 cars. What's your opinion on that? Do you think they should just have 4 cars? I think it would be pretty cool.
They're used to racing with the full field, though.
I mean, to me, it's kind of dumb because it eliminates some of the factors. Because to me, lap traffic, because Phoenix is a short track technically. I think it's right around a mile, but it's considered a short track. And lap traffic plays a big deal in that. Like, having a leader kept laps traffic can help change the race, because you can have, for example, if you manufacturer say there's, say the leader's going to have a lap car and he's friends with the guy in first, he'll let him by, but he'll hang back and make the pass second guy more difficult. That happened today a couple of times where Larson was trying to make up ground, but then another Ford driver would let Blaney by him, and then race Larson hard to try to help out Larson, help out Blaney, because again, you want to help out teammates. Another point I want to impress with Brad K. One of my guys started dead last because he flew on Friday. He flew from Phoenix to Charlotte Friday and then flew back this morning, and which to me that's insane jet lag. His wife had a baby yesterday, so he
all right, makes sense.
It's one of those things, but like he started dead last because he didn't qualify his car. Another guy qualified the car, and he finished top 10. And they're talking like that's impressive.
That's impressive.
Oh yeah,
Nice
like
little payday for that new kid too.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of cool. I want to end this with a major guy retired today. Kevin Harvick retired. Today was his last race. I kind of mentioned it earlier early in the year when it got announced. It's kind of a big deal for the sport because he replaced Dale Earnhardt Sr. when he died. He was tapped to take the car over. Third race in 2001 at Atlanta, he won the race, beating out Jeff Gordon in a crazy race. I rewatched that race Friday morning because I was bored, and you can watch all the old races online now for free. So I'm like, I'm going to watch this old race just to see what it's all about. It was kind of cool. Right. His historic team, it's 4 team. They're really good. He finished 7th today, which is nice to see. Like the guy was competitive till the very end. You have some guys like Jimmy Johnson who struggled in their last season, doesn't really do anything, but he got to a final thing. They had a lot of stuff to honor him. They had a lot of stuff to honor him. It was cool where last 3 races, he's done different old schemes so back. Today he had his Kevin Harvick Busch Light scheme that he ran a couple years ago. It was kind of cool. His family was there, to celebrate with him, but it's one of those things. He's leaving the car, but he'll be in the booth next year for Fox the first half of the season, which would be good to see him in there. He's a big voice in the garage and how he's kind of come along, and then it's kind of overshadowed but Eric Amarola, the driver of the 10 car, is also retiring. He doesn't have that kind of career to get a lot of praise for, but he's still a consistent driver that has, I think he has 4 wins, which if you get more than 2 wins, you're considered in the top in the top 10 of the sport. If you get more than 2 wins, it's hard to win once, but it's even harder to win twice. So, but I think he'll be running some part-time stuff next year. Next year they're saying in Xfinity maybe, but yeah, it was a good year. I'm excited to see what happens next year. Next year's schedule is going to be kind of weird, so I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. We kick off at the Clash the weekend before the Super Bowl again in LA, hopefully for the last year. But
so Daytona won't start it.
No, every year they do like a preseason expeditionary race. The last 2 years
they did it at the Coliseum, right?
Yeah, the last 2 years, and there's talk about
with the NFL going on in the middle. Remember we talked about this.
Neil boycotted that.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
I think it'd be crazy to see, but I mean, it's
Rams Chargers at the Coliseum with NASCAR going on around it.
I'm excited. This was a fun year, kind of wild. Some of these teams that we thought were going to be good, and some of the teams that were good last year ended up not being as good. Next season will be fun, having races back to back, almost like 2 weeks apart from each other. That I'll be going to, trying to drag Chet to one because it's an hour from his house.
Yeah,
and you might be going to Charlotte for.
I'm talking about trying to do that. I may go to Dega next year. I'm talking about Dad to go down to Talladega next year. So
we'll get a NASCAR Neil camping at Talladega for
camping. I want to do it
middle part. That'd be awesome.
I want to do it so bad. I'm talking about Dad to do it. Like, Dad, come down with me the weekend. Let's do it. Have a good time.
I want to get Matt and Neil on the track together at like NOLA Motor Speedway and have them race it out. Like
that, I'm also trying to get him to come up for a race next year as well. But I don't know how that's going to happen with his stuff going on in his life. So I'm like, but
we'll do motorsport Matt and NASCAR Neil racing out in NOLA Speedway to see who gets to come on as the new NASCAR.
Yeah, each week y'all have to challenge each other.
I like it. We'll get like NASCAR 12 load it up on the Xbox and get them just racing online.
But we'll be in the race too, just like the championship, where like we have
Exactly.
no say on it, but we can take you
Yes.
out.
Just mass
Oh.
chaos.
My
Yeah,
car
I
already
like it.
crashed.
No.
Well, Neil, I appreciate it. With your NASCAR updates, it was a good end to the season with Blaney winning. He was a pretty young guy, so it was always good to
and
see.
it's also he's also a fan favorite. Everybody in the garage loves him. You know, he's kind of a guy. He comes from a racing family. His dad raced NASCAR for a long time. Never won a race. His grandfather was a big sprint racer. So it's one of those things you love to see the drivers who are from the old racing stock have success. You know.
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
also-
legacy guys.
Oh yeah, and also Penske Racing. They won back-to-back championships with Logano last year. Good to see the old captain. The man's 80. He looks like he's 70. The man was so walking around victory. I'm like, that guy's older than dirt almost, and he's out there just walking around drinking beer. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But
Love to see it. Well, that pretty much wraps up this week's show with our NASCAR Neil update. We appreciate everybody listening in, watching live on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like, comment, share to your grandma. You know the deal.
My grandma does watch.
What's up, Wade's grandma? Thanks for watching. Anything else, guys, before we send it into the stratosphere?
No.
That is
Nope.
your best
All
send off,
right.
though.
Yeah, send it into the stratosphere. Catch us next week live again, probably Monday night. Y'all have a good one. See ya.